the Zycronian 12 plague that will sweep across the world, killing hundreds of millions, if not billions.
How many doses were sent to the 18 countries? Do you know? I'm trying to find that number. Do we know exactly?
We don't know yet. We know there was 18 European labs and I think 3 countries at least. And what happens is that we know that other labs, in fact, I have classified documents I haven't released yet, from November 2007. The whistleblower actually got cold feet at the last minute, November 2007. And this is at a Pfizer pharmaceutical lab in a research park in New Jersey. We know that Sanofi Pasteur has their main plant in France and their branch plant in outside Beijing was making these hundreds of millions of doses. So there's multiple companies. We do not know how many are doing similar or parallel dangerous experiments, dangerous transfers through FedEx and other couriers, in unsafe lab practices, or purposely trying to co-infect host animals with both at the same time, supposedly to create a vaccine. So all of it incredibly dangerous.
The issue you mentioned a moment ago, FedEx or UPS, people have no idea what is shipped around the world, around the block, around this country by those 2 carriers. It's amazing what's shipped.
Yeah, and there's no real protection. You don't have
none.
A biohazard with a city, nothing.
They don't have any idea. The drivers don't know. Nobody knows. It's mind-blowing. Baxter, I guess, along with other companies, is acting almost like a biological terrorism organization. I mean, this is madness, what's going on. And it's no accident. So you folks better figure this out and figure it out quickly. Because when and if, let's just say when H5N1 does start to rumble and roll, it will not have broken out of the gate on its own, folks.
No. This is going to require a lot of help to get it going.
Yep. All right, be right back with Dr. William Deagle, MD, and a couple of more pieces of information your way, and then a special guest next. Okay, back with Dr. Bill Deagle, and we're talking about the accidental mixing by Baxter International of H5N1 into their H3N2 vaccine. Whoops, and the sending of same to 18 different countries and multiple labs therein. The death of ferrets injected with the H3N2 said there's a big problem. The big problem turned out to be H5N1, which has a 60+% mortality rate. Remember the Spanish influenza way back when, if most of the people didn't die of staph, certainly many of them did, but the overall influenza mortality rate was between 2 and 3% back then. So H5N1 at 60+ is a whopper, to put it mildly. All right, Bill, you got a special guest you'd like to bring on here?
Yes, we do. We have Alexander S. Jones in Washington, D.C. He is a former U.S. National Institute of Health employee, and inside information about what's going on, and some very serious line of questions. And I hope, Matthew, we have Alexander ready to go. Is he ready?
Ready to go?
Hi.
Alexander, welcome to the program. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. When did you first find out about this Baxter mistake, and what was your initial response to it?
I think I first heard about it through Dr. Carly, and she went on, I think, Alex Jones's program, and then I immediately began investigating, because even as far back when I was working in NIH in 2002 or 2003, this was an area that I investigated just because I was around viruses all the time in the lab. And, you know, it was interesting, and there was all this stuff about influenza pandemics and so on in these journals. So yeah, I worked in the laboratory of structural biology research, and I worked mostly with computers, but we would take pictures of the viruses and reconstruct them basically using computers, make 3D models.
Right, understand. How did it strike you that allegedly this accidentally contaminated the H3N2?
Oh, well, it's just literally impossible that this could have happened. These people need to understand that H5N1 is literally a bioweapon. This is the sort of thing you would see in Outbreak or something like that. Well, H3N2 is the stuff that's given ostensibly, for elderly people to prevent them from, getting sick from the flu.
Right.
So the fact that these two were combined at all in a vaccine is disturbing to say the least, but it's just literally impossible that it was an accident.
Of course.
There are completely different procedures for these. They would not have come from the same lab.
So this brings...
not from the same room. It's not like someone mixed up Petri dishes.
Right. All right. Very good. This brings us to the obvious question. Was this some kind of a dry run to sow or seed a pandemic in the general populace, or was it something else? What do you think? What's your best guess?
I think that by the grace of God that something got screwed up and that they got exposed. I think that perhaps this lab, they're called Biotest, and I can pull up the city. They're in the Czech Republic. I think they may have injected the ferrets and been surprised at what they saw. I think that perhaps they were manufacturing next year's flu vaccine, so that this was intended for release in 2009. The others don't share my opinion so much. Dr. Carley thinks that this could already be incubating in people. 13 were exposed in a lab in Czech Republic. So I definitely think it's intentional. I'm not sure what their intent was. I think they were trying to make a contaminated flu vaccine for next year, and that they got caught.
Makes sense. I've read about this in the past, that was possibly the agenda, and one way to sow it and get it going quickly by inoculating hundreds of thousands of people who would immediately become sick with H5N1, and then there's no turning it back. I guess you've made these documents available for us. I've got them up at rense.com. You want to explain what they are, if you would, Alexander?
Oh, sure. 3 of them are Czech articles that were the original. I don't know who posted it. It was an anonymous source, but he said, you won't find these posted in the American mainstream media. And he went on to talk about them. I went ahead and had them professionally translated, and then I uploaded them. And in these documents, we find sort of a paper trail of what went on. Originally, mid-February, it seemed that Baxter was claiming trade secrets and saying that, it's just this one lab, we're claiming trade secrets. And then it seems like and then it was discovered in the Czech media. It had spread, or it was in 3 different countries at either 16 or 18 labs, depending on the source you use. I think possibly 18 labs. So Baxter was basically trying to cover this up by claiming trade secrets. That's what the translations show, among other things. I
agree. Bill, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a good thesis. I think that they were planning on a fall release of a weaponized flu vaccine. And, of course, they also knew that if you start injecting host animals with both, you're going to create new recombinants that could either break out in the lab or could be used in other experiments and spread elsewhere. So either scenario holds water, but there's no way that the highly weaponized avian flu could have gotten mixed in here. This is absolute criminal activity, and the most amazing thing is there are no indictments, there are no arrests, there's no international outcry, there's no response by the WHO or the United Nations that makes any sense whatsoever, or any national governments.
No, nobody's talking about it in the MSM either. It's gone.
No, they're not talking at all. In fact, I tried contacting Biotest myself. I've called them internationally
in the Czech Republic.
Yeah, I called them in the Czech Republic. And all I get is their answering machine. I even called them, and originally I thought it was because of that time zone, but they're not answering their phone, and their executives, 2 of them have an auto reply from their email that says they're on vacation for the rest of March.
Yeah, well,
so somebody told them to take a break.
You bet. Somebody told them or else, and that's it. By the way, the ferrets injected at the Biotest facility in the Czech Republic, 100% lethality. All right? They all died. So the stage apparently was set. The agenda was ready, the plan was made, and it may well have been to inoculate an awful lot of people come this fall with a tainted deadly bioweapon called H5N1, hidden away in the H3N2